we're very privileged to have you as our phenomenal woman this week. It's a very good morning to you, Tsungie.
Thank you, Tashinga.
All right, now, Tsungie, please do tell us about your background. We want to delve into who Tsungie is so that you can also inspire other women out there to climb the corporate ladder and be recognized in society as women who have their heads up and who can stand on their own 2 feet like you have. Tell us about where you grew up and who you are.
Okay, Tsungie, preferably Tsungie. I prefer the name Tsungie because my mother would call me Tsungie only when she was angry. so I prefer, I'm more comfortable with Tsungie. I grew up in Warren Park. I was schooled at Louis Mountbatten Primary School, went to Monte Cassino Girls Secondary School, then finished my A-levels at Howard High, where despite the fact that I wasn't a former student of the school before I joined for my A-level, I was enrolled as head girl. From there I went to the University of Zimbabwe, and soon after graduating, I earned my first social certificate, which is my marriage certificate. And so I became a mother of 3 within 6 years. So my youngest baby is actually 4 months, and I enrolled. I got into corporate affairs somewhat by accident. I was initially working for the church, the Methodist Church, as a social and health services officer for the Methodist Church. And initially I had joined Delta as the community projects manager, mainly focusing on the corporate social investment elements of the company. But my portfolio took many turns, and I was beginning to enjoy more and more the communications aspect of it. And many of the communications aspect of the job were being delegated to my desk. So that's how I became a corporate affairs manager.
All right, now as you were growing up, did you always envision, you mentioned that you didn't always envision yourself in corporate affairs and public relations. What did you want to be?
Initially, I think within my primary school years, I wanted to be a nun. And
what happened along the way?
For no other reason besides that the attire seemed to look good on me. I would wear, because I'm born Catholic, so I would wear a chiffon just like a nun would wear a chiffon. But as time goes on, you are exposed to a lot more than what the church exposes you to. So I decided I wanted to become a lawyer, because I felt I was very eloquent in speech, and for a lot of people, they felt I was one person who could argue to the end, see an argument through. I wouldn't give up in between, before the argument ends. So I felt I had an acumen for law. But when I left high school, I could only enroll for sociology, and I did not enjoy my 3 years in sociology as much as I felt I would have enjoyed had I been in law. But sociology brought me to a point where I could access the social services types of jobs, which then led me into communications. So I've then advanced into communications and gotten myself a diploma in public relations. And because I'm in the corporate setup, I've recently graduated my master's in leadership and management, which I've continued to allow myself to become a total package, to be able to speak with relevance to the corporate world, to be able to be specialized within the communications world, and at the same time to be versatile in terms of what I can deliver in communicating, or in my role as a communication specialist.
Right now, as you're growing and as you're going on, what are some of the challenges that you face as a woman in the corporate sector?
I think the first thing is the climb for women is very, very slow. You have to prove yourself double time, that you are capable. You have to begin to balance between being a mother, wife, and being of service to your portfolio. And it hasn't been an easy road, I must say, but it has also taken a lot of giving in from some of the aspects or facets of my life to be able to maintain a balance. But one thing that my master's program allowed me to learn was the art of balancing and ensuring that I'm able to form boundaries. We actually had a module on balancing the life of a leader. And in that aspect, it taught me that, family comes as top priority, because if family never takes time from any other facet of your life, but anything else, it normally takes time from the time that you should be giving to your family. So it has helped me to balance out, and I think ever since I began to implement the force to become a more balanced someone, I have managed to be more effective in all my other areas, because I've never been able to work being worried about what's going on in my with my family, what's going on with my kids, what's going on in my household, because they take center stage, and I make sure everything is in order before I try to embark on anything else different.
Now, for you to actually achieve all these things that you're talking about, you have to have a certain type of character. You have to have certain type of values, certain type of an upbringing. What are some of the values that your mom taught you, your parents taught you, that you think have molded you to be the woman that stands before us today?
My mother taught me to be resilient. For a good period of my life, my father had to study abroad when he was doing his master's and his PhD. And during that time, my mother had to put up with our teenagehood. And you can imagine what she had to, I'm a second born of 4. And during the time when my father left, it was when I and my other 2 brothers were in the adolescence to teenage period, and so she had to contend with a lot. But she brought us. She kept on. She never gave up on us, and she kept on being the mother that she had to be in the absence of my father. And at the end of the day, I look at all 4 of us. I think we are doing fairly well. We are a good testimony, to the extent that when she tries to introduce us, she introduces us. This is Tsungie, who wedded that time in this area. She's the one who just had her master's. She's the one who has got this daughter. I mean, she introduces us by very positive credentials. And it makes it easy for her to introduce us with a smile, because she has done a job well done. She also taught me to work hard. She's a professional woman. She's a teacher. As grew up, she always had more than one stream of income. We had chickens at our house. We had small pieces of land where we would go and farm during the weekends and after school. We also then had a farm where we would go even when I was. And on Monday, she would look on point. She would look sharp, and you would not know even by she had have her nails clean, her makeup well done. And when she gets into a classroom, she's on point, and you would never be able to tell that this one was tilling the fields during the weekend. And as for my father, he taught me the principle of hard work and to enjoy and love to be educated. My father tells the story of how, when he was in his first form in high school, he was called out at assembly as one who was within the bottom 10. And the whole school laughed at him, and his uncle, who was his guardian at the time, punished him for playing a guitar instead of studying, because my father, his PhD is actually in ethnomusicology.
Okay.
Yes. So my father speaks of how he has no A level, but he has a PhD. How he had to rewrite some of his O-level subjects, but he has a PhD. So he talks about how, the world can describe you as one thing, but you can form your own person, and you can become anything that you want in life. So he has got his doctorate, and he's proud of it, and he ensures that he tells anybody and everybody that he has a doctorate. And he wants to inspire people to say, you know what, I was once recorded the lowest, performer in school, but today many of the guys that I went to school with have not known the doors of a university, let alone to have a master's or a PhD. So my parents have been very instrumental in shaping up my values in terms of what principles I then carry around as an individual.
Wow, that's really amazing that you mentioned all these values that your parents instilled in you, and you're learning from them and you're carrying them on. And also in your children as well, are you also imparting these same values that your parents taught you as well? And I also then want you as well to touch on how you are balancing being a mom and being a wife and being a corporate woman, because it's very difficult for one then to say, you've got a 4-month-old baby and someone would say, I need to spend time with my baby, but you are doing all these things and you're managing to do it well.
Sometimes I feel, when you are, by the time you get married in your early 20s, you feel you want to be everything that your mother well, you want to be everything that, you don't want to be everything that your mother was. You want to be set apart from her. You want to be different from her. And I tell you, by this time when I'm on my 3rd baby, I'm realizing how much I am so much like her. I even hear her speak through me, because those are the values that I begin to look back and say, this is what molds a decent human being. So in terms of schooling, I'm very strict about my child's performance, and as a result, I want to give her the best package that is possible. My first is 6 years old, and sometimes I feel maybe I get a bit overbearing, but I find that whenever she succeeds, she celebrates and she comes back to celebrate with me that I've achieved this. And so the hard work, I'm already enjoying the fruits even before she has graduated with a degree or anything of the sort. Because for me, the foundation is very important. And this is the foundation that I got from my parents, which I would want my children to also appreciate. And the other huge thing that I got from my father in particular was everybody is a child before they are a daughter or a son. So my father would sit us down and consult us. He would sit us down and advise us on major decisions in the family. You don't just select the boys and say, I'm talking to the boys about A, B, and C, to the extent that even our husbands are also integrated very well within the family. And this is what I also want to show my children. My second is a boy, and I would like to empower him just as much as I empower my daughters. And it is very important for me to be able to balance and be able to give them the adequate confidence. My son has to respect women the same way my father respected us as girl children. My daughters should be able to be empowered just as much as my father empowered us by giving us some space, some decision, and sometimes just to be put in a context where you are being given information just for your info, even if you are not going to make a decision. And I should say that there are women who have given me insight on how to work around these things. There are very successful women who I've interacted with, who have challenged me to become both a successful corporate personality, as well as a successful wife and mother. And I will single out just a few if you'll allow me. There's Edna Mkurajisha, who is MD of Bankizi. She spoke at a women's forum at a time when I was deciding whether or not to complete my cycle in terms of, having children. I had always intended to have 3 children, or that was our decision with my husband, to have 3 children. And when she talked about how she was beginning to shed off post-birth weight after having her 5th child, and yet she was an executive in the banking sector, I was challenged to say, I'm just in middle management, and here's an executive who is not even scared to fulfill her biological and parental duties, but who still rise up the corporate ladder. I felt very challenged and began to plan around it to see where my master's fits in and where also my family fits in, and being able to plan and balancing it out. And on talking to her further and even reading her book, I've started learning a lot about what the character of a good corporate personality and good mother and good wife should look like. There's a little 360 secret that is around that element, which starts with your character, which I'm hopeful that I'm working towards, and hopefully being able to achieve that.
All right. Now, as you go along, Tsungie, what is your dream? What is your vision? Where would you like to see yourself grow to? If you look ahead and say, this is where I want to be.
My dreams have been taking shifts and shifts because I've wanted so much in my life. Growing up, I was very huge in the crafts. You know, if you can't find mommy's knitting needles in the house, you know who to blame. If you can't find her needles, you know who to blame. So just before I graduated from college, I invested time and my little bit of resources in a course on interior design. And I also went and learned how to knit using the knitting machines to do the cardigans and the like. And my plan was always that once I start childbearing, which I expected to start way into my 30s, I would leave work and concentrate on these crafts. But then I think I've now become at home in the corporate sector, in the area that I am in, and so I am advocating as the president of the Zimbabwe Zimbabwe Institute of Public Relations to raise the bar for public relations and communications, and allow it to assume that advisory role at the apex of any organization. And that is where I'm seeing myself. I do not see anything that is in my way to stop me from assuming the MD level of an organization. And I'm making strides bit by bit to learn how to be able to equip myself for such a role.
Right now, Tsungie, this is now lastly our quick fire segment. Just answer these 5 questions for us here. What book are you reading right now?
Exit Your Excuses by Tafadzwa Mukoyi.
All right, and what is your favorite food?
My favorite food? I'm quite a foodie, but my favorite food will be in the dessert sections. And I think anything around the red velvet cake and black forest cake, that would settle for my favorite.
All right, you've got a sweet tooth there.
Very sweet.
All right, and what type of music do you listen to?
I listen to all genres. I wouldn't have a particular. I listen to all genres, but I think R&B would be where my heart is.
All right, and would you call yourself a fashionista?
No, no. I think I put my best foot forward to look good. I've been taught to respect how I look, because people will respect, or people will address you by how you dress, but not a fashionista. No.
All right. And what is your favorite movie of all time?
Free Willy.
All right.
It made me cry.
All right. Thank you very much, Tsungie. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on Women's Hour this morning.
Thanks a lot, Ashinga. It's been a pleasure.
I've definitely learned a lot from you, and I hope our listeners have picked up a thing or two.
Thank you very much.